Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason and I am your watch guy today. Now unfortunately today, just like the police with Bojo's fines, I'm quite late. I was supposed to release this video Sunday, which was yesterday. Unfortunately, I had uploaded the wrong version of this video to YouTube and therefore I had to delete that one, re-edit it and now re-upload it for today, which is Monday. And so to Handset, the guy who's running Sovrygn, I am very sorry for this. Yeah, very sorry. But what I do have for you today is a very special watch. It is currently the subject of a Kickstarter campaign which you can be involved in. It is £414, which relates to about 655 Canadian dollars at the moment. That's where this watch is from. We know I love Canada a little bit. This Kickstarter will go through until 14th of June. You've got 29 days to get on board with it, but make sure you get on board with the early bird prices as they will creep up to a higher level. So, what am I reviewing today? Well, I am reviewing a sports watch with 5 different complications. However, it is very nicely laid out. It's a pretty watch and it gets some attention on wrist. So, with this all out of the way, let me turn around this camera and let me introduce you to the Sovrygn Calendar. I know what you're thinking. That is one good looking watch roll. I'm actually hoping that Handset will be able to sell me one of these separately because it's just so cool. I'm not usually a big fan of concentrating on packaging, but I thought that this one deserved a little bit of a look over. Nice little watch roll, and you know that I do love a packaging that can be reused or actually utilised. Let's open this one up. And inside we have the Sovrygn Calendar. It is an absolutely fantastic watch. We will be getting these in multiple different finishes and options. So if this one doesn't quite suit what you like, then definitely still give them a look, still give the other styles a look. These come with stainless steel effect finish, this rose gold effect finish, and plenty of different dial options. For me, this was the one to go for just because of how that rose gold really accents that baby blue colour. See how I refrained from saying Tiffany blue there? I think I did well. So this watch is going to be released on Kickstarter. It's due May 15th, I believe. I'm going to be releasing this video closer to the date. I am recording it quite early, to be fair. Now, it is an absolutely beautiful piece, and I do think, personally, I like this colour option myself the most, but there are other options there for you, as mentioned. Now, let's talk about the price before we talk about anything else. This one is going to cost a little bit more than the average Kickstarter campaign. It's going to come in at £395 on the super early bird. That's $515, and I think that's a pretty fair price for such a well-built watch with a really good movement in the back. It's also a very original piece for me too, so I think that Handset has really priced this accordingly. Now, speaking of the movements, it is packed with a 9100 Myota movement, which is a high beat 28,800 beats per hour movement with a 40-hour power reserve. Now, there are going to be a couple of changes made to this piece. First of all, the crown is going to be changed from this 5mm crown to a 7mm crown. I'm a fan of that change because it'll make it more operable. The bracelet flex is going to be adjusted also to make for a better fit to wrist. The date window is going to be changed from white to a dark blue to match the sub-dials there. Now, I'm not too sure if it means that the baby blue, the Tiffany eggshell blue, will be changed to match them, or the white numerals will be changed to match them. I think if it's the white numerals, that's a really decent change. If not, I'm a bit concerned that it won't be matching the dial. He did say the white of the date window, so I'm hoping that he means the numeral itself. The thickness of this piece is going to be adjusted. It's going to be down to 12.6 millimeters, which is going to save you about 0.4 of a millimeter. That's without the crystal. And most importantly for me, the logo on the side is probably going to be removed. He hasn't confirmed that yet, but he did say that he is probably going to go. And I think that will definitely enhance the design. I know what you're all going to say, but this really does give me Invicta vibes, and I don't really like that vibe. I like some Invicta pieces before we all start jumping on the Invicta's a great brand, really good, really affordable. Train, yeah, just not the ones with Invicta emblazoned on the side, please. So let's talk about the dimensions of this piece. It is 39 millimeters in diameter, here to here, 14.8 millimeters thick. That does include that dome sapphire. 46.9 millimeters lug to lug. We have 20 millimeter lugs on this piece, and we do have a leather strap option for this one too. I will show you that later on in this review. Now, as we have a look at the actual casing itself, this is 316L stainless steel with this gold coating on it. We have a mixture of finishing throughout. Now we have this really nice horizontal brush down the side of the casing, which really does suit the piece, I think. As well as that, we have a very high polish bezel. That is a fixed bezel. The octagonal feel to this casing is a very robust one, and it gives you a very, I'd say, premium feel to the casing. It is very angular. It does have a lot of edges to it, almost like a more angular samurai for me. Now, this does look like it comes in two pieces. As you can see just below the end link there, you can see that there are screw holes either side, and it almost looks like the lugs are built into the casing itself. As I say, this watch does really feel like a well-built piece, and you can get that feeling off a watch straight away. And as soon as this one was unboxed for me, I thought, you know what, that's good quality. That's really good quality. It's really well built, really well manufactured, to be fair. Now we do have that Sovrygn logo down the side here. As you can see, that is probably going to go. This is a screw down crown on this one. As mentioned prior, the crown will be enlarged. So first option is for the date window, second option is for the time. And as you can see, we do have a hacking movement built into this one, obviously the 9000 series. Now we have a pusher above the crown here, which kind of throws off the symmetry to the watch casing. Some people are going to be a fan of that, some people aren't. Now this one here is actually the pusher for the month complication, as you can see there. Makes it really easy to change, I guess, but I know a lot of people will think that that throws off the design slightly. The lugs are well angled towards wrist, and as you can see, as mentioned, it does give a very robust look to the watch, as well as keeping the lug to lug size very compact and wearable. As we move to the case back of this piece, you can see that is a display case back. We have the usual information around the outer edge of it, the usual specifications, and we can see that 9100 series movement in the back of this, that Miyota high beat piece. As well as that, it does have the Sovrygn logo printed onto the rotor, which is a nice premium effect. Let me just close this one up. The crystal really does complete the watch aesthetic for me. This very nice dome effect to the crystal that does very much flow with the case shape, does give this a very premium feel, and almost just finishes that dial for me, finishes that case effect. I really do like that. That is a sapphire crystal, as you'd expect at this price range. Altogether, this watch is provided with 100 meters of water resistance. Now, as you can imagine, with a pusher that is not screwed down up there, that is a pretty fair rating, a pretty expected one for me. This is a sports feel watch, definitely a sports watch, so I do think that that's a very suitable rating. One final thing to mention about the casing is that this crown is signed with the Sovrygn logo. As we move into the dial, there's a lot to cover here, isn't it? There's a lot of complications to show you in action, a lot to talk about, I guess. So let's start with the power reserve indicator up at the 12 o'clock position. As you can see there, as I wind this crown and charge it up, that little orange hand doing its job and indicating how much power you do have left in this watch. Obviously a 40-hour power reserve, and that's what that 40 indicates on this measurement. I do like how that semicircle is sort of played into the indices at the 11 and 1 o'clock and almost makes that flow with the design much more. Below that we have the Sovrygn logo printed to the dial. Now let's talk about how fantastic that texture is on the dial. It really does give another element to this design, to this dial itself. There's a couple of different textures to talk about. First of all, the main dial has this really lovely, almost gravel-like texture to it, almost sandpaper texture, I'd say. The sub-dial for the 24-hour indicator just down here at the 6 o'clock, now that again has I'd say a more grainy effect to it, almost like the dial, but a little bit rougher. And we have the usual vinyl record effect to the other two sub-dials at the 9 and 3 o'clock. Now, these sub-dials are in a dark or navy blue, which accents that eggshell blue so nice. We also have an embossed measure for the 24-hour indicator down at the 6 o'clock. Gives a nice 3D effect to the dial. Now, speaking of 3D effects to the dial, the indices are applied and they have a polished stainless steel border effect to them. Usual rectangular indices throughout this dial. Following on from that, we have this minute track which sweeps really well into the dial itself and really connects the case and even the sapphire crystal to the rest of the piece. It really does make this watch flow very nicely and really gives a nice aesthetic to the eye. One thing I haven't mentioned is the colour scheme to this dial. The orange accenting that baby blue is just a stroke of genius for me. I really do feel like that goes very well, almost like the Gulf colours that you would see in racing. I just think that those accents are perfectly aligned to what I'd like to see in a watch. We have that orange accent on the second hand, the 6 o'clock indicator, 12 o'clock indicator, and throughout the chaptering on the minute indicators. I think that makes the design really flow very well. Down between the 5 and 4 o'clock, we have the date window. Now, I understand that we can't really go without that with this being a calendar piece. However, I think that the placement isn't the best. Maybe if there was a way to replace the 6 o'clock with a date function, it just kind of, again, it throws the symmetry of the dial off for me. Just like the pusher at the side of the case did, it does make this feel very right tilting in design. However, I don't really know what else they could have done with that date window, to be fair. As we look at the handset, there's plenty of hands to cover. We have stainless steel polished effect handsets on the 3 and 9 sub-dials. Down at the 6 o'clock, we have a lovely orange splash for that one, and the same up at the 12. Now, the handset itself is a very simple, thin sword style handset. It has a slim sliver of lume on the inside. That's super luminova, and I will get the lights out to show you that very shortly. Finishing off the main handset is the orange, really nice flash of colour second hand, which is very well suited to this dial, reaches straight to the edge to that chapter ring, as does the minute hand, very well fitted. Now, as promised, lume shot to come. Let me get these lights out. So we have a pale blue lume to this piece. Now, the indices are well applied, as well as that the handset is also well applied. However, due to it being such a slim handset, there's not much of a real estate for them to put the lume down on this one. So it does look a little bit on the pale side, a little bit on the non-luminescent side, I guess. One thing that I do always note in a review for a Kickstarter piece or prototype is that Lume does improve in production, so do keep that in mind if you are interested in this piece. Don't let this one put you off too much. It does sustain quite well. I do think they've got a really nice spread on that too. So well done to Sovrygn. Do expect better in the actual production pieces, however. As we move on to the bracelet, we have some really nice accents on this bracelet. We have a taper down to the butterfly clasp. It's almost a H-link bracelet. Very Nautilus in effect, very Nautilus in style. There's some nice accents, nice cutaways throughout this. The polished effects in the center really do give a very lovely effect to the finishing of this bracelet. As we move on to the butterfly clasp here, you can see that we have a Sovrygn logo in the center, and that does have a black finish to it, really accents it nicely. Usual butterfly milled clasp here, good standard to it, I'll give them that. And the logo press over there really does help to flow the design through the bracelet. Now these are screw pieces. We have solid end links. They are quick release pieces also, which does help to change in a different band if you so wish. Now let me show you the band that Sovrygn do have with this one. So it comes with this really nice blue leather piece, which again has the matched buckle on this one, a quick deploy buckle, or a option for an actual buckle, which is also being supplied to me. This has a really nice finish to it. Actually, I'd probably go with this myself. I think that they're much more comfortable. Very substantial build to it. Very nice to see that they've also put effort into the fine details of the piece. The band itself is very subtle, very easy to manipulate, malleable on wrist, and it's just absolutely fantastic quality. Genuine leather piece. As you can see here, it really does accent the subdials so nicely. Very, very nice to see that put in there. I expect that it won't be a instant addition to the Kickstarter. I believe it'll probably be a stretch goal. But there is an option to pick it up on the leather band instead of the bracelet. Personally, I always say get the bracelet and then add the leather band later on. Just makes financial sense usually. So let's talk about the moans for this piece, or things I'd like to have seen improved. Now, I would like to see mid-links on the bracelet. That would make for a much better fit to wrist. And I know that they're going to be changing how the bracelet feels to wrist to make it more fitted. So maybe that would be an extra bonus for them. The Sovrygn logo should be going. If it's not, I have an issue with that. I would like to see that, just a plain side for me. Now the watch does feel very right hand heavy, as I've mentioned, with this pusher and the date window. It does slightly throw off the piece a little bit for me. However, I don't think it will bother many people. The date window itself is, yes, it's colour matched. However, with that white print, it's kind of hard to see. So I would have liked to see them, hopefully he is going to move to the navy print instead. I'm not sure if he meant navy print or he meant navy dial, but I think he meant navy print, and I hope he does, because that would be a really nice improvement to see on this piece. Otherwise, I think that this one is going to be down to taste and budget. Yes, it's not the cheapest Kickstarter campaign in the world. However, the quality is definitely there. And looking at the prototypes, yeah, it's worth it. It's 100% worth it. I mean, they've definitely got the quality in here. And the specs are there too. So, very little to complain about, if I'm completely honest. Very well done to Sovrygn for this piece. Before I go, however, I do need to give you a wrist shot, don't I? Really enjoyed wearing this one. and it actually got a decent few comments whilst in work. That's how I rate my pieces usually. If someone points it out, then you know that it stands out. You know, it's a little bit of a statement piece. Very nicely fitted to wrist. As I say though, we could have done with some mid links on this one, just to get that extra nice fit, if you know what I mean. The short lug to lug really does help it. And yeah, as I said, well done to Sovrygn. This is a really good prototype, really good piece. I think it's going to be very popular when it comes to market. I think that's going to sell out pretty quick. So if you want this one, definitely jump on quickly. So guys, there we have it. This is the first time that I have had the pleasure to have Sovrygn in on the channel. And honestly, I've really enjoyed this watch. It's a fantastic wear. It gets plenty of attention on wrist. And those complications really do a little bit for me. Especially the power reserve one. Don't know what it is. Do love a good power reserve indicator. If you'd like to pick one of these up, I have the link in the description to the Kickstarter campaign. Make sure that you are nice and early on this one because you want to get the best price. You want to get the most for your money. Well done to Hamza for bringing this to the market, and I hope he is very, very successful with it. Now, this one is going back to him, so I'm not keeping this model, and I'm also not getting one in the future, just so you're fully aware of how this review has worked. It is completely an unbiased and free review. I don't get any benefits from this apart from your fantastic views and hopefully the urge for you to go down there and press that subscribe button. That really does help the channel out a great deal. Thank you for watching this one, guys. I hope to see you in the next one.